Welcome to the Been There, Done That podcast with Angela Dunn-Cartledge. Hi, everybody. You're listening to the Been There, Done That podcast, and I'm your host, Angela Dunn-Cartledge. I am here with my wonderful friend, Rebecca Lyons, and we are going to talk grief, resilience, hope, whatever we want to talk about today. Does that sound good, Rebecca?
Absolutely.
I'm so glad you're here. Tell us what brought you to the show and what you bring to the world.
Like all of the above. And I think navigating the healthcare system has been something that has been a journey for me. And uh, what I sort of share with the world is trying to support other women in navigating that with confidence.
I think that is such a beautiful mission. And right now, in my particular situation, I'm finding that um, I have reached a point in my hormonal life that I don't have any, that they've also decided to take a vacation.
Yes.
And so it has been really fascinating the lack of information
Yeah.
that I have been able to access. And what's funny to me, Rebecca, is that I feel like we as women get a lot of information, especially when we're younger,
Yeah.
about this is what your body does, this is what your body will act like. But we don't get a lot of, I'm going to use the word grace, but I don't want, that's not really the word I'm looking for. It's really more like flexibility
Yeah.
to sort of to experience that or explore that and to kind of understand, well, that might have worked for my mom, but that didn't work for me. And in my particular story, that was the way it went for my infertility. That I struggled early. Well, I struggled the whole time to get pregnant.
Right.
Let's be fair.
Yeah.
And then, but my parents and grandparents did not. And so that sort of exploring that option and not really knowing, what do I do with this now?
Yeah.
So I would love your take on that exploration, um, that understanding that we sort of gain in community, but we also gain it individually and are able to then take that to the community and explore that even further. What do you suggest, or how do you make recommendations in that way?
Yeah, absolutely. When we initially went to speak with women to see if they were having these experiences, we were met with a resounding heck yes. And I don't know who else is going through this in my life. I think a lot of our health as women is really like stigmatized as something that you don't talk about and you don't discuss, and you kind of are expected to silently suffer while managing your career, your job, your family, taking care of your children, your spouse, your parents, right? We're in this real sandwich of as a caregiver in many cases, also extending to many men as well. But women tend to feel the brunt of that. And so I think there was a lot of loneliness that was communicated in women who were experiencing chronic invisible illness, also just generally, as you alluded to, sort of the perimenopausal stage and going through menopause. And every woman, of a certain age goes through this, but we don't know what to expect. And menopause is having this moment now, thankfully. And there is a little bit more resource and information that's coming about because of that gap in information. But I really think this community of women that we've tapped into is looking for that camaraderie, looking for that connection, looking for others who are going through this experience so that they don't need to feel so alone in that for sure.
I so agree. And what I feel myself and what I hear you saying is that the community is the key. That because we don't know what direction to go in, the only way to know what direction to potentially even try is to have community, to have that fellowship, to say and have a safe place to be able to say, "Hey, Rebecca, I noticed that your your skin looks different. How's it going?" Or whatever, whatever those questions might look like. That I personally feel that we so stigmatize the things that we go through. And it's mostly because we didn't have anybody to talk to about it in the first place. That we got that foundational information, and then that was the expectation was that you will stop asking questions, that now that you've done the initial 5,000 questions, you
Yeah.
don't get any more. You've reached
Yeah.
your quota. And so I really love that concept of I found this answer, and it's not really. Um, I didn't find the experience, and in my case, to be icky. But I think we get scared because of that stigma that we think if at any point in time we get to a point where we feel like we're being sold to, or we feel like we're being brushed under the rug, that we're not being really truly heard. Those are the kinds of moments where we then shy back, when in actuality, that just means we haven't found our correct community.
Yes.
How does that resonate with you? Am I saying that the right way?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we sometimes sort of put up our blinders a little bit to what exists beyond our own world, right? And if we don't seek that information, those other people, we sort of end up in this same little feedback loop. And that also goes for navigating your care team, right? Your primary care provider and any peripheral providers that you're seeking, whether that be in the medical or paramedical space. I think if you're feeling in those spaces as if you don't have the support or the care that you deserve to have, you're allowed to question that. You're allowed to ask for an alternative opinion, to ask for additional information. Um, we also need to realize that our care team is comprised of people, and people don't know everything and they don't have all the answers. And there's new research every day that they may not be privy to. Like, there is so much and it's so layered. And I think there's probably more people in your network, your community, that want to help you than you realize, whether that be directly within that medical setting or outside of that. And sometimes we just need to be the ones to ask for that.
I really love that. It feels very collaborative.
Mhm.
What you're suggesting and recommending feels like, "Okay, well, we'll just try again." We don't have to take no for an answer. We can we can ask it a different way, or we can say, "Oh, but I forgot to include this symptom. Does that matter? Does that change what you're recommending to me?" There are things that we get very defeated by, that I think if we think about the hope in it, the possibility in it, that we could, maybe gain our a little bit more energy to be a little bit more collaborative. I really like that concept. That's really cool.
Yeah, the feedback loop is really important, right? You can't expect people to read your mind, whether that be someone within your own circle or be within your care team. And they're making recommendations based on their best understanding of you and your health history, as well as what they know to be available for treatment for those symptoms that you're experiencing. And without the feedback as to whether or not their recommendations resonate with you or the treatment that you're on is working or isn't, or what's working well and what's not, they can't really make change for you either, right? And to your point on feeling defeated when, you kind of feel to be met with the same asking for further clarifying information is okay in those scenarios. Like, why are you recommending this? Can you tell me more about what you're thinking here? You're allowed to question, and you can do that respectfully and thoughtfully, to make sure that you have the clarity that you deserve to have when it comes to your health, right?
And it takes time, is what I'm
Mhm.
hearing you say, that this is not, uh, what we want so much, especially in our Western society, is we want quickness.
Yeah.
We
Yes.
want instantaneous answer and correct. We want an instant accurate answer, but that's not really how life works. And so being iterative and allowing for that collaboration, if you go to your doctor and say, "I have questions," and they say, "Well, I don't have time for that," you need a new doctor. I mean,
Yeah.
it's one of those things that I see the permission that you're giving us to kind of expand and
Yeah.
say, "Wait, I don't have to think about this, that they are the only people that know. They are the only authority figures on this particular thing." In fact, in my particular case, I went to my general practitioner first and said, "The I am this is beyond, just normal
Yeah.
lack of sleep,"
Yeah.
or, um, that was part of what I was attributing all my symptoms to was I have 12-year-old triplets and I'm 50. So I couldn't tell if this was my body that was telling me giving me messages, or if it was just the nature of the season that I am in. So I dismissed a lot of things for a long time as a result of thinking it's just because I have little kids, it's fine.
Right.
But what I found was when I went to my general practitioner and said, "Hey, these are what I'm experiencing," she said, "Here's the thing. You have to pay attention to the symptoms regardless of what your labs look like." And a lot of doctors will just look at labs and say, "Well, you're fine.
Yes.
This you're not in the state that you think you're in." And that's why I say what I said, that in that case, that isn't true. So you have to be able to say, "No, you're not a good fit for me anymore."
Yeah.
And while that takes time, and yes, that is a pain, and yes, that is more, um, you have you have to decide that that's the most important thing. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm hearing you say.
Absolutely. Prioritize yourself first, right? When it comes to your care, and you're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to make a different decision later on. You are empowered and allowed to do these things. And your experience that you shared there, with having, symptoms that you were experiencing that maybe were or weren't being heard, is exactly how I got eventually diagnosed with stage 4 endometriosis, right? I suffered with symptoms for over 8 years. My labs came back as normal because it's not something that shows up on a blood test right now, given where we're at with the research, right? And what's commercially available. There's no way to tell. The gold standard currently today is to do laparoscopic surgery and go in with a camera and see what you can find if these or this array of symptoms is present that also is the same as many other conditions, right? So, like endometriosis itself, I think the average is 6 or 7 years that it takes women to get diagnosed. In other countries, it's up to 12 years as the average. So it's a big problem, right? And I think some of it is on our practitioners not being aware of the symptoms and being attributed to endometriosis. Some of it is the symptoms that we experience can mimic other conditions, or because we're still functioning, because we're still going to work, because we're still taking care of our children, because we're still showering in the morning, because we're still sleeping. It's not severe enough for it to be paid attention to in the medical space as being of concern. And it's very frustrating as a woman to have this constant mask on, to present yourself as though everything's okay. Meanwhile, a day or two a month, you're curled up on the bathroom floor because you can't handle the pain that you're experiencing. But
You
that
can't and that's when the function stops, right?
correct.
At that moments, absolutely. And until they get to be, week long,
Yeah.
symptom full experiences, there isn't a lot that gets paid attention to. And that is, I think, the biggest thing that I wanted to ask next is how do we break that cycle? How do we continue to educate, especially our little ones, to ask better questions, or to advocate better for themselves is really the way I wanna
Sure.
ask. Yeah.
Um, First of all, I think somebody else can't tell you how you're feeling, right? I think that's really important. We are the only ones who truly know where we're at when it comes to our mental health and our physical health. Someone on the outside may be an expert in whatever field, be it medical or not, but because they're not living your experience, they truly don't know what that feels like and what impact it has on you in your life, right? And I think it's so important for us to teach our next generation with that advocacy lens of you know yourself and your body best. And if somebody doesn't believe what you're saying, it's not because they don't want to necessarily, it's because they're not living in your body and they truly don't understand. And you're allowed to repeatedly tell them, no, that's not the case. This is how I'm feeling. This is the case for me. My pain is at a 7 out of 10, even though, yes, I'm standing here or sitting in your office and I was able to get out of bed today. Like, you're allowed to have that sort of push and that force in how you present that, right? I
Love
think it's
that.
really important
Yeah,
advocating.
it's incredibly important, and what I hear you saying too is that it's it's about not taking no, not accepting the, lack of knowledge or the lack of perspective, and it's not about fighting back. I don't mean it in the way that, like, it needs to be aggressive. I mean more that it's just that you don't have to accept that,
Yeah,
is what I'm hearing you say. That
yeah,
you can say, "Yeah, no, that didn't really help me very much. That
yeah,
I need more. I need it to be different." And that is where I see the greatest, um, hope in this, is that we can not only teach ourselves that skill at whatever point in our process we're at. We don't have to give up because we're, like, maybe already 50 and already in menopause and never learned how to advocate that way for our bodies. I'm just using that as an
yeah,
example. Or that we can educate, in my case, my 12-year-old to say, if this is the way that you are experiencing a day and that's every day, it doesn't matter that your level of discomfort is different than my level of discomfort. We still need to talk about it. We still need to have those conversations. We still need to be able, and to me, I always look to the younger, more honest generations to break cycles like this because, um, she is very good at saying, "That's stupid."
yeah,
Like, I don't know that I don't like that you think that's a stigma. That's stupid. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna do this differently. And so I really want to learn from her, but also be able to allow her to have those moments, to be able to speak that truth because to me, the resilience that that is building is far greater than any discomfort that someone else might feel that she's pushing the boundary.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
And I always want to call out too, like the medical providers that you're speaking to didn't get into the practice because they didn't want to help people, right? Like, I don't know a single doctor who didn't go in with altruistic intention and who doesn't run their practice with altruistic intention. So, um, we are in charge of communicating how we're feeling. We're not in charge of how other people receive that or respond to it. And we can seek alignment for ourselves if that relationship isn't serving you, right?
I love that. How do you coach and recommend, suggest, whatever verb you want to use, around the possibility of regret of time lost?
Yeah.
Your example, your story, where you said you went through significant symptoms for 8 years. How do you recommend, or what do you coach people to do in that regret moment where they look back and want to wish for a different outcome?
Mhm. Yeah, I think it's really easy to get caught up in that type of wishful thinking, almost it is, and really think about the what ifs and all of that. Um, Now, the unfortunate situation is you can't change what's happened in the past, right? Unless there's something going on with quantum physics where we're able to rewind time that I'm not aware of, which is possible. But no, we can't change what's happened already. All that we can change is what we do today and how we move forward, right? We don't even know what's going to happen in our future. We have no control over what might happen with our bodies next week, next year, 5 years, 10 years, 50 years from now, right? But what we can control is how we deal with it today. And so rather than getting wrapped up in a little bit of a woe is me, a little bit of a I wish I had done things differently, it's well, that it's unfortunate. Acknowledge it's unfortunate. Yeah, it sucks. It took 8 years. Now I'm in this stage 4 situation. It's deep infiltrating. Like I could have had a better outcome, but now I know, and now I can do something about it. Right? I can do something today, and isn't that great?
Yeah, you
Yeah,
get a new chance every day,
yeah,
right? I mean, that's the hope in it to me, is that you get a new chance every day. I love that. I really love that. Tell us how you build community around this. How what you have founded that allows us to get better information and to be better advocates for ourselves.
yeah. That's a really great question. We did put together an actual online community for women to come together and discuss their experiences. I share resources in there, new research that's released, all of that kind of fun stuff with regards to medical journey. But really, I think there's just so much opportunity for more. And so we're starting small. We've got, our app, we have this community. We're putting together events. We're co-branding material with organizations such as This Won't End Me. It's an endometriosis foundation. So we're doing our best to sort of establish these pockets of interactive space, whether that be virtually or in person, where women can come together in shared experience and understand that they're not alone. And there is other people out there that are not only going through it, but willing to support them with whatever they need as they experience as well.
I think that, to me, that is the most beautiful way to allow a silent sufferer, to your earlier point, to sort of navigate first, to sort of see what the water might do if I dip my toe in. What will happen if I rock the boat a little bit, those kinds of things, to sort of gauge the safety. Because I think it all goes back to your original point, and that is that we have been told for so long that our bodies betray every natural order. And instead, it's the opposite, that it's our natural order that populates the earth. If it weren't for us, there would be none of that. So we have to be able to allow ourselves to find that safety again.
Absolutely.
And to me, the only way we can do that is to hold each other's hands and allow it, right?
Yeah,
So it is one of those truly most beautiful things. I really, again, I really resonate with the community piece of this. How do we encourage each other in the best way? How can we, um, you know, um, I, I pride myself in sort of being having little invisible pom-poms over here and, like, trying to cheer people on, but that's not always anybody, not everybody wants to do that. How can we encourage each other in these moments?
Yeah, that's a really great question, and I think there's there's people in your life that are probably going through things. They're probably suffering silently, much like you are, and nobody's asking them how they're doing, how they're coping, what they need from a support standpoint. So I think probably the easiest and best way is just reaching out to the people around you and offering your support in any way that makes sense. And that might be through just a touch point conversation. Hey, I was thinking about you today. What's going on? What have you got planned for your weekend? Sometimes it's as simple as a little communication and conversation. If someone's having a hard time, a bad mental health day, and you reach out to them, you don't know that, and you say, I was thinking about you, how nice do you think that would feel?
Yeah,
Right?
it is. It's incredible. It's like a virtual smile, you know? We always talk about, you don't know what people are going through, so give them a smile when you see them.
Exactly.
It's like doing it that way,
Yeah,
because we don't always have that benefit of having our community be people that live right by us.
exactly.
And, I think that's the beautiful thing about this technology, the internet, that we are, we wouldn't know each other if it weren't for the internet. So
Yeah.
I think it's beautiful to be able to say, just just throw a thread out,
Yeah.
throw a little line out and see what happens, and, just be able to try, build that community a little brick at a time. I love it. How can we well, what let me back up. What would be one practical tip that you would recommend the audience, uptake from this episode and apply to their life right now?
Yes. Yeah. So, a practical tip for navigating a medical appointment would
Yeah.
be to keep track of your symptoms. You can certainly use the Hersey app, but even just in the Notes app on your phone or on a pad of paper, keep track of how you're feeling all the time. Rate your day on a scale of 1 to 10, right? And if you do that, you can start to really understand yourself, your body, and go prepared to those appointments. You can make the most of your time and you can help your doctor help you, right? Um, so I think that's a tangible takeaway. And then, of course, alluding to that community we just discussed, reach out to people around you and let them know that you care about them. Absolutely. So our website is www.hersay.ca, HERSAY.ca. We are a Canadian company, so .ca. Otherwise, I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me, Rebecca Lynn Lyons, and the app is available on the App Store and the Google Play Store, so you can download that there.
I'm so thankful for this opportunity to expand the conversation. Again, I just think that, there's so much opportunity to allow each other to have that permission, and we've grieved long enough that we've been stigmatized. Let's walk into the light, everybody. Let's go. We can do this, and we can help each other, through it all. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for sharing your personal story. I so appreciate all of it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Angela. It's been great.